you getting it calling for an increase in supply from?
It is the largest tool that we have to be able to do that.
Who are you calling for an increase in supply from?
Excuse me.
Secretary, please.
Senator Hawley, your time's expired.
Could I get an answer to this question, Mr. Chairman? Who
Senator,
are you calling for an increase in supply from?
From our domestic oil and gas manufacturers, from international oil and
Even
gas
as you
manufacturers.
cancel their leases?
Welcome to the Bald Brad Show. In today's episode, we have two video clips that completely destroy the Biden administration as well as the Energy Secretary's argument regarding oil prices and gas prices. These are clips you don't want to miss, folks. As always, before we jump into the episode, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. Share this link with your friends and family all over social media. And with that being said, let's jump into it.
Today in the state of Missouri, the average price of gasoline today, as of this morning, is $4.10. Average price of diesel is $5.18. And I'm sure you've seen the reporting this morning that now AAA is projecting that gas prices will hit a national average of $6 a gallon by the month of August.
Oh my God.
Is this acceptable to you?
No, it is not. And you can thank the activity of Vladimir Putin for invading Ukraine.
There you go, folks. The continued narrative that it's the Putin's price hike, it's all Putin's fault. Wait till you see Senator Hawley's response to this. It's completely awesome.
And pulling essentially those barrels.
With all due respect, Madam Secretary, that's utter nonsense. In January of 2021, the average gas price in my state was $2.07. 8 months later, long before Vladimir Putin invaded Ukraine, that price was up over 30%, and it has been going up consistently since. What are you doing to reverse this administration's policies that are drawing down our own supply of energy in this country, that are throttling oil and gas production in the United States of America?
Let's see her answer, folks.
With respect, sir, it is not administration policies that have affected supply and demand.
How can you say that when the price of gas was up over 30% from
let me
January
answer.
to... you answer my questions, and it's my time, Madam Secretary, so why don't you answer my question? From January to August, the price of gasoline was up over 30%. In my state alone, it has been a continuous upward tick since then. And here's what your president did when he first came to office. He immediately re-entered the Paris Climate Accord. He canceled the Keystone Pipeline. He halted leasing programs in ANWR. He issued a 60-day halt on all new oil and gas leases and drilling permits on federal lands and waters. That's nationwide. That accounts, by the way, for 25% of U.S. oil production.
All of which we've talked about on this show early on, folks. And recall, when we talked about those as well, Jen Psaki stood there on the podium and said President Biden was doing everything he possibly can to figure out this issue. Matter of fact, he was losing sleep over it, folks. It's a bunch of BS. They're going to blame Putin and everybody else for the problems that they created. And like Senator Josh Hawley said, 30% increase long before, 8 months before all this stuff started taking place.
He directed federal agencies to eliminate all supports for fossil fuels. He imposed new regulations on oil and gas and methane emissions. Those were all just in the first few days. Are you telling me that's had no effect on our energy supply?
94% of the oil and gas executives that were surveyed by the Dallas Fed said that administration policies had nothing to do with the increase in the price of oil.
I'm not interested in opinions of these people. I'm interested in the facts. Are you telling me that these policies had no effect? Is that your testimony that these policies had no effect?
That is crazy that she's saying they had no effect, especially when these policies that he just listed, these actions from the Biden administration, were within the first few days, the first few months of his administration. And she's going to sit there and lie to everybody and say they had no impact. Oh, well, it's coming from a survey. That doesn't, who cares? The survey could be wrong, right? It could be a bunch of BS. Everybody knows that an observational study, which is a survey, has a ton of biases in it. You can't show confounding variables. You can't show lurking variables. You can't sit there and have a control group. Like, you're just going to sit there and say, well, they were surveyed. Like, that's why he doesn't care, because she's not answering the question, because she knows the Biden administration is partly to blame for this gas price, this oil price hike.
Are you telling me, Madam Secretary, are you telling me under oath that these policies had no effect?
I'm telling you that 94% of the oil and gas industry.
I'm not interested in their
executives
opinion.
say that
I'm
they had
interested in the
no effect.
facts.
So, no, they did not. Ask
That is a
Vladimir
remarkable statement.
about the increase in demand and the decrease in supply from pulling Russian barrels of oil off the market, thanks to rightly the United States saying we're not going to take Russian oil. Coming out of COVID.
So what explains the increase between January and August
coming
of
out of
2021?
COVID.
Nobody's disagreeing with the fact that because Vladimir Putin, the situation going on with Ukraine, has messed with supply and demand. Nobody disregards that. His question, though, is regarding the 30% for his state alone as to why the prices went up. And what were the other causes and ramifications outside of Russia and Ukraine that helped increase the price of gas? And for the love of God, she can't answer it because these people are all corrupt, folks. All these people have no interest in solving the solution.
Coming out of COVID, there was an increase in demand because people were driving again. When there was no demand, the prices dropped. That is a basic law of economics. The prices dropped.
I have to say, Madam Secretary, with all due respect, your answers are insulting. And they are insulting to the people of Missouri who are looking for action. Now, you said 2 months ago your department was on war footing. What are you doing to bring down the price of gasoline, which has been going up consistently since you took office?
The price of gasoline is derived from the price of oil. The price of oil is at $110 a barrel.
What are you doing to decrease it?
On
is
a
my
global
question.
market, sir. If you could let me finish.
If you would answer my question.
I am answering your question, sir. Oil is traded on a global market. We are paying extremely high prices today, just as they are in Japan.
What are you doing to get it down?
Just as they are in Germany. Just as they are in South Africa.
What are you doing to get it down?
We are calling for an increase in supply. We are releasing 1 million barrels a day from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve to try to balance.
The reserve, you got to be kidding me, folks. We've done a whole episode on that of how much and how many days our reserve would last. That's a laughable answer. They aren't doing anything, which is what we're going to get into in a moment from Senator Ted Cruz.
Who are you getting it calling for an increase in supply from?
It is the largest tool that we have to be able to do that.
Who are you calling for an increase in supply from?
Excuse me.
Secretary, please.
Senator Hawley, your time's expired.
Could I get an answer to this question, Mr. Chairman? Who
Senator,
are you calling for an increase in supply from?
From our domestic oil and gas manufacturers, from international oil and
Even
gas
as you
manufacturers.
cancel their leases?
Senator Hawley, if you want to answer, you have to allow the Secretary to answer.
I've said we have called repeatedly for increases in supply from domestic oil and gas manufacturers, from international oil and gas manufacturers. We want to increase supply, and that is why the President released an unprecedented amount from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, and our international allies also released from their reserves to try to balance out supply and demand while the oil and gas companies increase supply. And the the Energy Information Administration has projected that they will have increased in the United States about 1 million barrels a day by the end of this year.
Wow. So that's just one video, folks. We're going to hop into Senator Ted Cruz, and he has a phenomenal chart here that shows just how much effort the Biden administration has really put through here on getting more supply of oil, because she's going to sit there and say, oh, well, we reached out domestically and all these other things. This is mind-blowing, folks, on how far these people will lie straight to your face.
This was deliberate. This isn't an accident. This isn't an unintended side effect. This is exactly what Joe Biden promised he would do. And it's what he's done. If you look at when Biden was sworn in, gas nationally was $2.09 a gallon. On that first day, what does Biden do? He cancels the Keystone Pipeline. Boom, day one. What does he do after that? January 27th, a week later. He halts all new oil and gas leases on federal land, both onshore and offshore. Federal land, onshore and offshore, comprises roughly 25% of U.S. oil and gas production. Next, February 19th, he rejoins the Paris Climate Agreement. Notice what's happening to the price. Next, May 7th, 2021, Biden takes 30% of land off limits to oil and gas. Price keeps going up. June 1st, he halts drilling in ANWR, the incredibly petroleum-rich section of Alaska with vast reserves, very small portion of Alaska, he shuts it down.
But he's doing everything, folks.
Going up. June 30th.
He's doing everything he can. He's losing sleep.
Congress reverses the Trump natural gas regulation. October 7th, Biden reverses the Trump NEPA regulations. October 29th, Interior begins the, quote, social cost of carbon designed, again, to drive gas prices up. November 15th, a moratorium on oil drilling in the Chaco Canyon. And then February 24th, Russia invades Ukraine. By the way, Biden is trying to blame Putin for the increase. And listen, Putin bears some responsibility for that increase, but he doesn't bear responsibility for all of this.
Nope.
All of this happened before Putin invaded Ukraine.
Something I would like to point out here, and I don't know if Ted Cruz actually mentions this, but you have more of a long-term ramification between, what is that, basically January 27th to November 15th. So sometimes when you remove these oil and gas leases, or it has some sort of effect on oil production, that it actually takes some time to feel that effect. So when you see that vertical spike there, yes, of course it has something to do with Russia and Ukraine, but it also has to do with basically those effects of January 27th all the way through November 15th are now bleeding into that vertical spike, which doesn't help matters. So you would expect more of a slant, more of a positive slope than a vertical slope in terms of these increasing gas prices right when Russia invaded Ukraine. And also when Russia invades Ukraine, you don't automatically feel that in that moment of time. So that vertical spike is definitely an anomaly that has more explaining to do, rather than just saying, well, it's the Putin's price hike. I don't think so. It's not just that. Mostly it's to do with, yes, what you did before in conjunction with Russia invading Ukraine.
March 1st, Biden releases oil from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. March 21st, the SEC proposes an anti-oil rule. Let's shut off equity. By the way, you combine that with the banking regulators that Biden put forth, who are trying to shut off debt. So if you have no equity for drilling oil and gas, and you have no debt for drilling oil and gas, you know what that means? You have no money for drilling oil and gas. And what happens is the price keeps going up and up and up. And then May 12th, Biden cancels the remaining lease sales. This is decision after decision after decision designed to cause the price to go from $2.09 to $4.48 a gallon on average.
Isn't that amazing, folks, that the Biden administration is going to sit there and say they're doing everything they can? You saw it from the energy of secretary. You've seen it from Jen Psaki. I'm sure you're going to hear it from Karine Jean-Pierre. You're going to hear from everybody. They're still doing everything they can, even though as of May 12th, all but a couple weeks ago, they're still removing leases. They're not increasing domestic oil production. The stuff that they are doing is completely mind-boggling. But again, as we always say here on the Bald Brad Show, can you expect anything different from a guy that's suffering from dementia? If you got a guy suffering from that, then all the people down below him are going to suffer as well. And it's just a trickle-down effect. But that's not going to stop them from coming on the podium each and every week and continually just lying to us. It's the Putin price hike. The amount of times I've heard that, it's getting a little bit old. Because again, you had an increase in price before the Russia-Ukraine invasion. They don't want to explain that. They want to talk about the latter half. They want to talk about how it's all Putin's fault. Because if they could put the blame on somebody else, and they can't put it on Trump, right? They can't put it on Republicans. So there's only two people to blame, or two parties, either the Democrat Party under the Biden administration or it's Putin. And so rather than blaming themselves partially, they're just going to put their whole effort on blaming Putin because nobody likes the guy. Republicans don't like Putin. Democrats don't like Putin. The majority of people don't like Putin. So it's easy to blame somebody that everybody doesn't like rather than blaming the guy that half America doesn't like. So folks, with that being said, let me know what you think about all this in the comments. Does it get your blood going? Does it get you a little amped up a little bit because you're feeling it at home every time you fill up your car? I think on average, Americans are spending more than $300 a month now under this inflation, under this increase in gas prices. Some people are more, some people are a little bit less, but on average, I think it's $300 or $311, something of that nature. Now, as always, folks, if you want to support us here at the Bald Brad Show or support a conservative, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. Share this link with your friends and family all over social media. Folks, I will see you later today here on the Bald Brad Show.